A lot of people are afraid to ask beginner questions, and not because the questions are silly, but because we live in a world where it feels like everyone already knows all the answers. And if you're just starting, it could often feel that you are the only one who doesn't. Every single person, once upon a time, has been a beginner in something. Every person who is successfully making their clothes now started at some point with zero knowledge. Nobody is born with pre-installed skills. We all start somewhere, we suck for a while, and then we improve. It's a journey. So if you are just at the very beginning, I really want you to stop being so hard on yourself. It's okay not to know. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Lisa Bennett, designer, educator, and co-founder of Arkdefo. We teach women how to design and make clothes based on their individual measurements, bypassing ready-made patterns. If you want to understand how clothes actually work and you want to learn in a kind and encouraging way, then click the link below this video and explore our courses. When will I stop being bad at it? You are not bad at it, you are just a beginner. And the more you practice, the sooner you master the skill. That's a very simple recipe. You can't learn by watching videos or reading books. This is a practical skill, and the only way to truly improve it, to truly master it, is to get your hands dirty and try things out. Stop being so hard on yourself and expecting perfection from the first try. This is truly the shortest path to failure. Instead, accept that you will be bad at it for some period of time, but the more you practice, the better you will get. And furthermore, with every new project, you will want to push your skills further. So technically, with every new garment, with every new experiment, you will be a beginner again. But overall, of course, the skills compound and you will be getting progressively better. But this is a lifelong learning journey, and even after 20 years of doing it, you will still be making mistakes, and it is okay. The mastery is not in avoiding mistakes forever. It's about knowing how to fix them if they happen. Different people say different things. Who is right? The problem with this question is it's based on the idea that there's only one way to do a certain thing. There are different people, different cultures, and different ways to arrive to the same result. The question shouldn't be who is right. The question should be which way works best for you. Confusion comes from trying to pick up different ways from different people all at once. You don't understand what you're doing. You're picking tricks and hacks instead of learning the structure. So my advice would always be find a teacher that you like and trust and learn the basics from them. Once you have the basics, you can then comfortably go and explore different techniques, different methods. But if you try to combine everything at once, all you have is confusion and wondering who is right. I can't draw, can I still design clothes? Absolutely yes. You don't need those fancy fashion sketches to design clothes. You need to understand what exactly you want to make. And when it comes to pattern drafting, what we teach in our courses, it's not about fancy drawings. It's basically straight lines and a couple of curves. Patterns for clothing are not drawings as such. Those are lines and curves that correspond to your measurements. You don't need to freehand them. You use rulers for that, so it's really straightforward. When you learn pattern drafting, you learn all the basic elements of any garment. For example, let's talk about the top. All you have to do is make a series of decisions. First, what fit would you like? Tighter or looser? And you design accordingly. Then, what type of bodice do you want? How long or short would you like it to be? Do you want a button stand or maybe a zip on the back? Then, what type of neckline do you want? Do you want a collar? What collar? Do you want sleeves? What sleeves? All of these have nothing to do with drawing. These are just design decisions. Once you understand pattern drafting, you understand that designing any garment at all is just making decisions based on what result you want. You don't need a fancy drawing to know what you want to create. What is right versus wrong side of fabric? Right side is the one that you can see on the outside, and wrong side is the one hidden inside. Now, it depends on the type type of the fabric you're working with. Some fabrics might have right and wrong side completely identical, so it doesn't even matter which side you use. Other fabrics will have very obvious right side. Quite often it's maybe darker, juicier colors, and the wrong side is slightly more muted. However, sometimes for creative decisions, you can combine right and wrong sides in one garment and flip them. Again, this is all about decisions. Knit versus woven fabric, what's the difference? Super simple. Woven fabric is made by weaving. So you will have many rows of threads sitting vertically, and then horizontally there'll be other threads woven in between them. The easiest example of woven fabric is your classic shirt. And knit fabric is literally knitted. If you look at any sweater, you will see little loops, right? Now look at your t-shirt. You will see the same loops. They're just much smaller, but the principle is the same. And that's why, even if it's 100% natural, it quite often will have minimal stretch, simply by the way it's made. So woven fabrics, it's your shirts and trousers, and knit fabrics are your t-shirts and tracksuits. What is the difference between fabric type and fabric composition? We do have a big video about this. You can check it right here. But super simple. Fabric composition is the composition of the fiber, what it's made of. It can be natural, synthetic, or mixed blends. So for example, natural fibers will be cotton, linen, wool, and synthetics will be polyester, nylon, and mixed blends will be something like polycotton. And fabric type is about how these threads were put together to create what type of fabric. So for example, lace, twill, denim, jersey, those are fabric types, and they can be of different composition. So when you're making a decision what fabric to buy, you should consider both. What is GSM? GSM is gram per square meter. This is the literal weight of the fabric. So if you take 1 square meter of the fabric and put it on the scales, what's the weight of it? And in the very beginning, I strongly recommend that you stay away from super lightweight fabrics. Anything under 150 GSM, don't touch it. It will be too tricky to work with. Choose light to medium weight fabric, something like 180 to 250 GSM. Just a couple examples. A t-shirt will be lighter than a hoodie, right? But very often it's a very similar fabric. It's the knit fabric. The difference is in the weight. Or the same way how a shirt will be lighter than a pair of jeans. The difference is in the weight. A typical shirt could be around 150, 180 GSM, when jeans probably about 250, 300. What fabric do I choose for what garment? Nobody expects you to know all the types of fabrics, and there are so many of them, it would be even impossible to mention every single one. You don't have to learn all the fabric types all at once. But say, for example, you want to make a sweatshirt. You just type in Google sweatshirt fabric. Most fabric shops will list the type of the garment that is suitable for this fabric, because it's just simply easier to sell fabrics this way. So you don't have to overthink it. Or you want to make a shirt, type in shirting fabric. Basically, think of the garment that you want to make, type the name of the garment, and then fabric after that, and very likely you'll get the right fabric. And if you want to buy in person in a fabric shop, then just think about it logically. For example, you want to make a shirt, grab any shirt you have at home and touch the fabric. You need to get familiar with understanding how the fabric feels. Once you go to the shop, first option, you ask for help, or second, you just go around and touch different fabrics and see what feels similar. You don't need to know the specific GSM or the proper name of the fabric. You can touch it and feel, I think this feels right for the shirt because it feels familiar to something I already have at home. That's it. You don't have to overcomplicate it, especially in the beginning. How much fabric do I actually need? It depends. It depends on what you're making. It depends on your measurements, on your size, on your height, and it also depends on the width of the roll of the fabric. I can tell you from personal experience of running a fabric shop, we have rolls as narrow as 90 centimeters and as wide as 2 meters 20. So of course, the wider the roll of the fabric, the more you can fit in the width of it. The typical kind of standard width of the fabric roll is about 150 centimeters, 60 inches. But I don't want you to assume that this is always the case. Always check the width with the supplier. Generally speaking, for an average size person. 1 to 1.5 meters of fabric should be enough for a short sleeve top. 2 meters should be enough for a long sleeve top. 2 to 3 meters for dresses and trousers, again, depends on the fullness, and about 3-4 meters for a coat. The more you practice, the more clothes you make, the more you just learn how much fabric you might need for what design. The most common lengths of fabrics I have ever bought were 2 or 3 meters, works for most of the clothes I'm making. And if you buy more fabric than you need, it's great because you might have some extra scraps for testing or maybe making another garment. So if you love the fabric and you bought slightly more, not a big deal. If you love the fabric, you have an idea for the garment and you didn't buy enough, there could be some problems because sometimes different rolls are from different batches and there could be slight color variation. So I always recommend, if you buy in fabric and you are not sure, it's better to get slightly more than less. What is grain direction? Grain direction is crucial in woven fabrics and not as important in knit fabrics. So when you buy a cut of woven fabric, you will see those industrial edges going along the length of the fabric. This is your grain direction, and this is how you should align all of your pieces, all of your pattern pieces on the fabric. Basically, in super simple words, if you cut your pieces along the grain, your garment will sit nicely on you because it follows the natural grain of the fabric. If you cut across the grain, it might be sitting a little bit funny. And when you design your pattern pieces, the grain direction usually goes through the middle of it. That's it. How do I choose a sewing machine? I want you to understand one thing. Sewing machine is just a tool and it's not responsible for the quality of your garments. You are responsible for the quality of your garments. Choosing sewing machine is the same as choosing any other equipment. It's all about your budget and your needs. If you're just at the very beginning, I strongly recommend getting something cheap secondhand, testing it out and understanding what do you need and want from a sewing machine. I only recommend that you get a sewing machine that has 2 settings, a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch, and that's it. You don't need any fancy programs. You can start very, very simple. What equipment do I actually need to start? Sewing machine is definitely the greatest investment. All the rest you can easily find at home. You don't need any special paper to design patterns. Old newspapers or taped together A4 papers do a great job. You don't need any special rulers. If you have rulers at home, they are great, they work. You don't need any special pens or pencils. It's a great idea to get tailor's chalk. However, if you don't have it, a dry piece of soap will also do the job. Honestly, you don't need anything fancy to start. Sewing machine, tape measure, sewing pins, some sort of paper, whatever it is, some sort of rulers and pens or pencils, and tailor's chalk. That's a fantastic starting point. And of course, fabric for practice. Your old bed sheets are a great start. You absolutely don't need any expensive fabrics to begin with. Do I need a mannequin? No. You don't need a mannequin. The main reason why I have a mannequin is because I'm teaching and it's a lot easier to show something on a mannequin than on myself. But when it comes to making, I don't really use it that often. Unless you get a custom-made mannequin, it will never be exactly like your body. That's one. And secondly, a mannequin is a mannequin. And you are human. You are breathing, you are moving. And the best way is to design on yourself and try things on you. Because if you design perfect garments for your mannequin, you might find out that they don't fit you at all because you designed them for your mannequin and not for yourself. What thread do I need? Again, you don't need anything super special, super fancy. Any general thread will do. And in the beginning, black, white, and gray is enough. You don't need the full rainbow of threads. What are different machine needles? Let's super simplify. There are 2 types of needles, for woven fabrics and for knit fabrics. The biggest difference is that knit fabric needles don't have a sharp end, so they don't break through the fibers, they kind of separate them. They also called ballpoint needle. And then another thing to consider is the thickness of the needle. Remember the GSM, the weight of the fabric. For heavier fabrics, you will generally need heavier, thicker needles. For lighter fabrics, you will need lighter needles. You don't have to memorize it. You can easily Google it. What is seam allowance? Seam allowance is a little bit extra fabric that you add to every single detail because it allows you to stitch two details together, making sure that the final size is what you wanted. Because say if you just stitch two details and you don't have seam allowance, you will reduce the size of your detail. If you look inside any garment you own, you will see that there's a bit of extra fabric inside the seam. That is the seam allowance. It allows the seam to go where it needs to go. So there's a bit of extra fabric hidden inside. That's it. And there is no perfect size of seam allowance. It depends on different parts of the garment, yes, but also depends on what you are comfortable with. Because the bigger the seam allowance, the easier it will be for you to work with a sewing machine. My usual seam allowance is about 1.5 centimeters. But if you're just starting, you can always have it bigger. And then if you have to, you can trim it later. Why are there so many stitches on my machine? Honestly, I have no idea because I have never used anything besides the straight stitch, the zigzag, and a super useful program for buttonholes. All the rest, in my opinion, is just extra fluff that you don't need, especially not in the beginning. How do I cut fabric without ruining it? I know that many of you are afraid to cut fabric. First of all, never ever start with expensive or complicated fabrics. We start very simple, plain cotton, old bed sheets, whatever you have at home already, you need to practice. And when it comes to cutting, you never cut in the air. When you cut in fabric, you always have the bottom knife of the scissors sliding on the surface. It could be the table, it could be the floor, whatever surface you're working on, the bottom knife of the scissors always stays on that surface. So never in the air. This is where mistakes happen. And if you are cutting something that is not possible to have scissors lying flat on the surface, so you have to cut it kind of in the air, then you use your other hand as a base. Your scissors are never just floating in the air. There's always something underneath the lower knife. What is ease? Super simple. Ease defines how the garment sits on you. If it's extra tight, if it's fitted, or if it's loose. So when we design custom basic blocks, we include ease into them. So what happens if you design something with woven, non-stretchy fabric and you don't add any ease? Very likely you won't be able to get into this garment because ease allows you to be a human. It allows you to breathe and to move your arms and to lift your legs. So we need a bit of extra added to your garment. If it's something fitted, it could be as little as 5-6 centimeters extra to your measurements. However, if I'm making something oversized, looser fitted, I quite often add 20 centimeters, 40 centimeters, or even 60 centimeters. So if I want my garment to sit really loosely far away from my body, I increase the ease. So ease basically defines the fit. What if my machine breaks? This is a very common fear, but truthfully, the machine hardly ever just breaks unless you throw it off the cliff. Needles might break and then you just replace them. Presser feet, I guess, might break or maybe you lose them, but then again, it's easy to replace. The entire machine doesn't just break. Usually it's about this or that part, and in most cases, it's fixable and replaceable. So read the manual, learn how to use it, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. So if you recognize yourself in even one of those questions, please remember it's completely normal. You are not supposed to know everything in the beginning. You are not even supposed to know everything after 10 years. It's a learning curve, a lifelong one. And making your own clothes becomes much less overwhelming when you learn step by step in a structured way, instead of collecting random bits of information here and there. If you want to learn confidence with the machine itself and practice by making making simple projects like hair accessories and bags, I do invite you to check our course Foundations of Sewing. And if you're already comfortable with the sewing machine and you're ready to start making clothes and you want a clear system that shows you step by step how to draft simple patterns based on your body, then I invite you to check our course Relax Fit Tops. Both are beginner friendly, both are structured, and both are designed to make things make sense. You don't have to know everything to begin. You just have to start. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.